in an important way.
How cool is this?
Because we are joined right now by the Hall of Famer, longtime voice of the Los Angeles Kings, the great, emphasis on great, Bob Miller. Bob, great to see you, man.
Great to see you guys and be on with you today. And I'm excited about the Kings coming back to ESPN LA and being on radio for at least 25 regular season games.
Yes.
And I think that's a great move by the Kings.
Can't wait.
And a partnership on the ESPN app and everything else. So it's a kind of a rebirth of the Kings, even though the logo goes back to when Wayne Gretzky played here in 1990s, and has the crown from 1967. So the Kings have incorporated some of the original part of the team, and then the 90s, and now up into the future and beyond.
Yeah.
Bob, I was trying to figure, what was your first year doing Kings games?
1973.
Wow.
I'm guessing that back then you did more games on radio than you did on TV, no?
Yeah, we did. At that time, we could only do, I think we did 15 games on TV, and so did the Lakers. So Chick Hearn and I would meet with Bob Speck, who was the
legendary
program director at KTLA, and we'd go over, and Chick would say, "Okay, you're playing in Montreal. You got to have that game, Bob. The Lakers are in Chicago. We got to have that game." So we'd split the games up. Unfortunately, we always played the tough teams.
Right.
So our record on TV was not that great, but I was just thrilled to get that opportunity to come out here and be part of the Kings telecasts and broadcasts. We did a simulcast my first 17 years. We did simulcast and flew commercially. And I said, if we'd have been flying commercially lately, I'd have been retired long ago.
Yeah,
Sure.
right.
It's an absolute game changer.
I was going to say, we were talking yesterday, and this is a great question for you. We were talking about art, and John said, I can't do any art. I'm not good at art. And I told him, no, play-by-play is an art, and you are a master in that area. What do you think what's the most important thing when you were doing game? What was the most important thing? What's the art to you?
I think the most important word that any broadcaster or anybody in any walk of life in any job is preparation.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared to do your job when you get there, you're going to lose that job. And people would say to me, 7:30 game, what time do you get there? 7:15? I said, no, not really. Like 3:15.
Yeah.
And we've talked the night before and the morning of. And you guys know preparation is the whole point of it, especially in a game where you can't look down to see who's got the puck. By the time you do that, it's changed hands about 3 times.
Right.
And you'd be lost. So preparation, and then you just have a knack of, and not everybody has this knack, to describe what you're seeing in person.
In real time.
Yeah. It's amazing. People can't describe what they're seeing in person.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big part of it because it's not scripted. You've got notes, but it's ad lib, play by play once they drop that puck.
Yeah.
Bob Miller is our guest, and for my money, the greatest hockey announcer of all time. And I was very spoiled growing up here because I had you and I had Chick, and Dick Enberg was doing the Angels, and Vin, of course, was doing the Dodgers. And the one thing, Bob, I've never heard anybody be better at than you. I can do it. Chick could do it, but none of us could do it as good as you. I'll even try and imitate it, and I'll screw it up.
Okay.
But you had an incredible ability to talk very, very fast and describe everything that was going on, but everybody could understand exactly what you were saying no matter how fast you talked.
You did a good job at that.
That was fast.
But
That was good.
I did it for 15 seconds. You did it for 3 hours. When did you know you could do that? Did you have to develop that skill? Did you just always have it? How did that come about?
Well, I listened to a lot of broadcasts growing up in Chicago. The Blackhawks with Lloyd Pettit, great hockey announcer, and thank you for the comments. But there are a lot of excellent hockey announcers out there. And I've told, and I got tapes from young people who said, would you listen to my tape and critique it and tell me what I'm doing right or wrong? And I would tell them, you've got to do the game at a pace where you keep up with the action on the ice.
And in hockey, the puck moves faster than in any other sport.
Yep.
Right.
It moves faster than any other ball or anything.
But at a pace where the listener, especially on radio, can understand and picture the game in his head. If he can't get a picture of what you're saying, it defeats the purpose. So you can talk fast, but not too fast.
Right.
I mean,
That's the trick.
Yeah.
I would get tapes where I would have to rewind the tape to say, what did he just say?
Right. So talking fast, but you got to be able to understand what's going on. You got to be able to visualize and
By the way,
it.
Bob, you'll be happy to know that Mason and I get those tapes now. Like kids will send us, hey, will you listen to my tape? And you know what we tell them? Pick another job. You don't want to do this. We're all worried they're coming for us.
I got a few of those too.
Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't pay attention to them.
Bob, what's it like at the Miller home when the Kings are on? Are you do you get wrapped up in every game? Do you miss actually being there and doing the games? What's it like?
I miss doing the play-by-play, and because certain games, when I was doing it, the game would be so exciting. I would just say to myself, where would I rather be than right here? This is so exciting.
Yeah.
And for any announcer in any sport, bring that excitement home to the listener. Make the listener feel as if he's right there, and he can on radio see it, on TV he can appreciate what's going on, and you give him that excitement and enthusiasm in your broadcast.
Yeah.
I can't believe you answered it that way, because what I always say when I get asked that question is the great announcers, the Chick Hearns, the Bob Millers of the world, make you believe that there is no place they would rather be than where they are. And it's because in your case and in Chick's case, it was often true.
Yeah.
And it's I miss hearing you do the games, but I'm so glad that you and Judy are getting to kind of live out the retirement life. And Jimmy Fox was on yesterday, and I don't know if you agree with me, but I think Jim has turned into an elite color guy in hockey. When he started with you, I think he would say this. He went 4 or 5 years not knowing when he could jump in, not knowing when he could talk. And now, Bob, I think I learned something every time I listened to Jim do a game. Did you sense that he was developing into that guy?
Yeah, I agree with you. I learned something every night from Jim, because he was on the ice as a player for 10 years, and they see things that I'll never see doing the game.
Right.
Because he sees things. And I couldn't believe he'd recap it, and I'd think, I didn't see that hit the back of his skate, but he did. And when he started out, and he admitted this, he said, I had no idea for 4 years what I was doing. And
not that he was bad. He wasn't, but he was trying to find his way.
Yeah.
And when he found it, it was like a faucet got turned on.
Right.
And then so then you had Bob with these historic calls and that unbelievable voice, and you had Jim teaching you the game. And Mason and I actually knew Dan Avey, the late great Dan Avey.
That's right. Yeah.
Who used to work in another building. And when you and Dan did the games, it was more like of a formal presentation, and Dan lent itself to that Hollywood, kind of, he would tell you who's in the stands and what it was like.
Right.
But when Jim came along, it was like, okay, we're going to get a Masterclass in hockey.
Yes.
And so Bob would tell you exactly what was going on in the game, and Jim would say, did you see that guy was tired and he got beat on that puck? He goes, that's because they left him on the ice too long. And I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
That guy's been on the ice, Bob, for over 3 minutes. And in hockey, that's too long. And I go, 3 minutes? That doesn't sound like a long time. But in hockey, it is. I learned that from Jim.
Yeah.
Right.
That you got to get those guys in and out of the ice, or else they're not going to have fresh legs.
Right now, it's about 45 seconds.
Is that
change.
right? 45 seconds.
45 seconds of going up and down 200 feet of the ice with somebody knocking you down or
It's
hanging
like
on
Mace.
your
Have
back.
you ever boxed, like sparred, even
Well,
goofing
you saw
around?
me box.
Yeah, that's right. It's
my
it's
butt kicked.
impossible to describe to somebody how tired you are after one round of boxing, and that's what Jim says about hockey.
Yep.
All right, so 2 things before we let you go. Yesterday, we made fun of Jim because he said, we had Luc Robitaille on our show, and Jim said, Andrzej Kopitar has passed Luc Robitaille as the all-time greatest Los Angeles King. And I pointed out to Luc that Jim works for him. So that was a very bold thing to say. But honest answer from you, greatest L.A. King. Gretzky's on an island by himself because he came in here and transformed hockey. We'll put him on a pedestal and leave him to the side. Most significant Los Angeles King of all time is who?
Well, you got a lot of people to choose from because I saw in 44 years of doing the broadcast.
Marcel Dion's on that list.
Marcel Dion, Luc Robitaille, so many players. Rogie Vachon, who was the first superstar here in goal.
And led to Jonathan Quick helping lead the Kings to 2 cups, probably more personally responsible for those 2 cups than anybody.
Yeah, and so we saw so many outstanding players, and yet we went through years where we didn't win a lot because we didn't have the team behind them that could support that kind of play. But let's say I'm going to disagree with Jim. I don't do it very often, but I'm not going to go against the team president,
who is the Kings' all-time leading goal scorer, by the way,
Luc Robitaille, who, for someone who was drafted that low because he couldn't skate, and he's in the Hall of Fame, leading goal scorer, and so many other records that he set, and he is great in the public eye with fans.
Sure
always
is.
has been.
And that's what we needed, his personality. And so I would say Luke, and I'm not dismissing Andrei Kopitar,
he's been unbelievable,
who was outstanding every year, leading the team and scoring. And
Bob might finish. I would assume now we can say it might finish like Kobe did, only one team.
Yeah,
even Gretzky played for Gretzky, Messier, Luke.
Yeah, it's rare
all those
that
guys
that
played
happens,
for multiple
yeah.
teams. For one guy to be the best player on one team for that long is a real accomplishment that Kopitar should feel proud about.
And Dustin Brown's in there. He played his whole career in a Kings uniform and
team captain.
Yeah,
team youngest captain
Cups.
in Kings history. All right, then the last thing I had for you is how do we put Connor McDavid into perspective? He makes plays, Bob, every once in a while. I had one the other night where I went, last time I saw that was 99. He might be in, there's an elite class. Gretzky, Lemieux, maybe a couple of other guys you could put in there, the Bobby Orrs, the Bobby Hulls. The guy in D.C. is pretty good, Ovechkin.
Gordie Howe.
But McDavid, to me, I know he's young, but it seems like has that level of talent. Am I overrating McDavid?
No, I think you can take that pedestal that Wayne's on and make a little bit of room next to him.
You think that good?
Oh, yeah.
For Connor McDavid. And Connor McDavid, in the start of this series with Florida, they're down 3-0 Edmonton, and he's not even in the mention of the Conn Smythe as the most valuable player.
Right.
Now, he's the one that people are saying, win or lose this series, he's going to get that Conn Smythe trophy.
He has 8 points in 2 games.
Yeah.
And then they go at it again tomorrow night.
Tonight.
In game,
or is it tonight?
Tonight's game 6?
Yeah. And it's in Edmonton.
Yeah, so they got a chance to force a game 7.
If he brings it back from 0-3, I'll tell you who's winning the Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
The whole series has shifted now to where Edmonton is getting all the favoritism.
When they figured out how to score. They couldn't score in the first 2 games.
And they've killed 44 of the last 45 penalties they've taken.
Not only that, but they've scored 2 shorthanded goals while they've been doing that.
Yeah.
So the series has flipped. Having said all that, Florida has 2 chances. All they got to do is win 1, and it's over.
Yep.
And people are saying if Bobrovsky in goal, who was spectacular the first several games, if he gets a shutout tonight and they win the Cup, that Conn Smythe trophy jumps over to him.
He probably deserves it. Although Matthew Tkachuk made a play the other night. He didn't get all the credit for it that he should. But that dive where he saved the puck from going in the net, they had a chance to get an empty net goal. He skates back. I said runs. Skates back, dives, throws his stick at the puck,
I saw this,
out, and then as soon as he does it, McDavid just blasts it into the net.
Yeah.
But Florida's probably still favored. I mean, they're up 3-2.
Yeah,
they
may be
games.
a slight underdogs tonight at Edmonton.
Yeah. But you got one game to win, and you're going home to get that game 7. If you have a game 7, you want it at home.
Right.
And that's what they're going to have.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
It is great to see you. We miss
Awesome
you. We
to
miss
see you,
seeing you
Bob.
do the games, but it's great to have you here. And it's great to have the Kings back here, especially if it means we get to see you.
Well, great to see you guys and be on with you. Thank you for having me. And I was so happy to see you guys win that award at the Sportscasters
that's
Well,
nice.
you know,
Thank
what we
you.
call those? We call those
We
Bob
call
Miller
those the Bob
Awards.
Miller Awards.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know one guy in this room called them that.
That's what I call them. The Bob Miller Awards. Exactly.
So I was glad to see him win it.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
Bob, it is awesome to have you here. Thank you so much. Always an honor to catch up.
thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Coming back next, we'll crank up the show. Big Friday, J.J. Redick and the Mandy's, all that stuff coming up. Mason and Ireland, 710 ESPN.